Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week you're going to see me doing some charcoal landscape drawing. On screen at the moment you can see what the final drawing is going to look like. During the video itself I'll show you the process that I go through to create these sort of drawings. Start with materials. So the material is pretty simple. I use willow charcoal. The paper itself, there's nothing special about it. It's just a drawing paper, a sketchbook paper. It's just a cartridge paper. I also use a little bit charcoal pencil. You'll see me using it. Kneaded eraser. Some people call it a kneadable eraser or a putty eraser. Different names. It's all the same thing. Other things, I also use some Kleenex, some tissue paper for smudging the charcoal. Again, in a second or two, you'll see me using all of these different things. The process that I go through is I put down some charcoal. You can see the materials on screen at the moment. So I put down some charcoal. I smudge it a bit. I use the eraser to lift off some of it. I put down some more charcoal. And it's just that sort of rinse and repeat sort of process. Putting down charcoal, smudging it a bit, moving it around, lifting some of it off, putting some more down, and you just keep that process going until you get to a point where you think, right, that's good, I like that, the drawing's done. If you go beyond that, you start to overwork things, and there isn't a finite, well-defined point, but there's a point at which you need to stop, sort of thing. In terms of choosing papers, because this is one of the questions people often ask, there is no right or wrong. Charcoal, you can use it with so many different types of paper. It's not a fussy medium in that sense. You can use it with white papers, toned papers, colored papers, with smooth, shiny, almost papers. The sort of paper I use, it is a flat paper. It doesn't have any surface texture, but it's a sort of, it's not a smooth, hard paper. It has a bit of a felty sort of feel to it, maybe. It's a softer surface. Again, as I say, just experiment with as many different types of paper as you can. Find the one that works for you. Some of the different influences, I started doing these about 5 or 6 years ago, these charcoal drawings. And there were some different artists who influenced me and different art movements and so on. One of those artists was a Japanese artist called Shinoda Toko. Shinoda is her family name and Toko is her given name. She was born, I think, in China, but she was Japanese. Her parents were Japanese and she lived in Japan for a lot of her life, except for one bit where she lived also in New York. I think this was in the 1950s. So 1950s New York, the thing that I think of is abstract expressionism. Artists like Rothko and all of those sort of people. And Toko moved there. She had been doing traditional Japanese calligraphy and sumie. So this is Japanese art forms using a charcoal-based ink and a brush. It's usually a goat hair brush, I think. And it's quite rule-based. It's quite strict in how you use the brush and the stroke order and all these sort of things. But Toko was kind of experimenting and rebelling a little bit against these rules. It was her father who taught her calligraphy. And apparently they had a lot of arguments. She wanted to do her own thing. And this is one of the reasons I find her inspiring as an artist. So my charcoal drawings don't look anything like her art forms. Absolutely nothing like it. When I say I was inspired by her, I don't mean I was copying her style or anything like that. I mean her as an artist and her approach to making art is what I found inspirational. And one of the things was this going against the rules and not being told how you do your art, doing your own thing. I think that's so important for artists. Certain art styles lend themselves more to rules. I'm thinking more of sort of realism and naturalism, that type of thing, academic style of art. But once you get away from that, you start experimenting with modern art and abstraction and things like that. It's up to you whether or not you want to follow any set of rules or not. And Toko decided not to. And I think her time in New York with abstract expressionism, her combination of traditional Japanese art forms and this abstract approach to making art, she combined it into something that was quite unique and very recognizable as her style of art. And I think this is very important. If you want to create something that is your style and not just obviously an attempted copy of someone else's style, you have to develop your own rules, if you like. You can't just follow other people. You can't just copy other people. You got to try and do your own thing. For me, with these charcoal landscapes, some of them are very abstract and some less so. And this one is less abstract, I think. But whether it's abstract or not, I don't use any references. I never use a reference, except on the very rare occasion I want to draw something that is a well-known landmark, and then obviously I want to get something of a likeness, and references are useful for that. But in general, I don't like using references, because when you use a reference, you sort of tighten up and you're focused on the details. When you use imagination and memory, you've just got in your head a vague idea of what you want to do. There's no details, there's just big shapes. And if you can do that, even if you're working from photographs, if you can focus just on the big shapes first, get your composition sorted out, and then start worrying about all the little details in the foreground and stuff, I think it's a better way to work. And you can end up with something that's more, it looks more organic, more spontaneous, and more lively, I think. Anyway, I say that's my sort of approach to doing these charcoal landscapes. If you are interested in my approach to doing these, I do have a course on Udemy. There's a bit of self-promotion here. There's links and things in the description box below this video. If you made it this far, thank you for watching and listening. Hopefully see you again in next week's video.